Hello, everybody. I'm Jason, the Wizard of Ops. With me, as always, is Jay, aka Dark Matter. Jay, how was your holiday weekend?
It was amazing. Always good to have a 3-day weekend, right? And have a good day off and relax with the family. Did a little bit of hosting and grilling. So yeah, it's a good Memorial Day weekend. Yourself? You're back
Uh,
now, Wiz.
Mine was good, but it seems like I have to go on my hotspot. I'm breaking up a little bit, I guess, huh?
Yeah, no worries. Let me.
Am
I'm
I
gonna
breaking
take
up or are you
over.
breaking up?
No, you're breaking up. Let me. I'm gonna take over a little bit while you get that adjusted, if that's okay.
Shit.
You good?
Trading connection reestablished. Market data
All right,
connection
you're good
reestablished.
now. I see you.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right. I don't know. I guess I gotta get a new internet. But anyway.
We're gonna need to get
um,
you some Starlink or something.
I don't know, man. So all right, so take it away. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah, let me jump right in here into our weekly trade plan and kind of go through this. So it's a shortened week, obviously. We'll kind of talk about what the markets have done here in futures action since Sunday, but kind of the key, headline here: Trump kicked off Sunday night with futures announcing a pause on the EU tariffs, which is what helped us sell on Friday, if you remember, right? So
Yeah.
we did a reversal of that sell. The market actually hit 5,900 or ish, close to 5,900 in futures action. So there's definitely some volatility that's been crushed with that announcement and that pause. But I think we just had an announcement, but I think durable goods orders is today. So keep an eye on that. We do have FOMC meeting minutes, not the actual meeting, but the minutes from the last meeting will be coming out on Wednesday. Thursday, we get some GDP numbers. And then closing out the event is the core PCE index. And then we have consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. Uh, Before we talk about this week, I quickly kind of want to recap last week. Like it was, this is going to be a very common thing I would just call out, Wiz, that you're going to have weeks like last week where you're going up and down, right? And when we had our stream last week, we talked about 58.80 must hold, right? That was the
Mhm.
key level in last week's charts. We held that in Sunday after the sell-off from the Moody's rating update. We got all the way up to 59.50, almost pushed it to 59.70 there. Couldn't hold that reclaim. We came back to 58.50. That was the trapdoor, right? And the minute that gave way, we went down, right? So we did pretty good kind of calling the top last week. And we also said, watch out if 58.50 breaks. And that triggered, 75-point sell off on, out of two things. We had bond auctions that started the first
Yeah.
cascading effect on Wednesday. And then Friday, obviously, with the tariff news. Anything you want to just chime in quickly on last week?
Yeah, it also seems that the market is a little bit sensitive to the big beautiful bill, right? Um, that after the bond auction went a little bit sour, the 20-year bond auction, um, any kind of when the House passed the big beautiful bill that would cause like a 1.9 trillion in further deficits, the market didn't like that. The market now does not like deficit spending, which is interesting because deficit spending is liquidity, and
Yeah.
so it's kind of like from a fundamental standpoint, that's kind of a strain. But now we're looking at the dealer positioning and how people are positioned for this. We'll see in a little bit, but when we have these trap doors of there's support up to a point and then nothing. Um,
Yeah.
that's when, these that's where like Volland is very helpful. It tells you where people are getting their support. And then when those trapdoors happen, you see people scramble, like a lot of people scramble for, hedging or selling. And you kind of, Volland helps you determine where those customers are positioned.
Agreed. Agreed. That's a great way to put it. Okay, so let's hop into this week. So kind of
Mhm.
went through the scheduled, I should say, data releases. Outside of this, if there's a Trump announcement, as you can see, it will shift markets, it will move markets. So just keep
Yeah.
an eye out for anything there. I think the key thing for this week, outside of all those news, is
Nvidia.
earnings with
Mhm.
Nvidia on Wednesday. Anything you want to share around Nvidia's earnings this week?
I still have to look at Nvidia, Vanna and stuff. I also have to look at their past earnings. But yeah, I mean, on my Substack, there will be an earnings report probably tomorrow. Oh wait, today's Tuesday. Probably today. Uh, but yeah,
One less
Nvidia.
day, remember.
Yeah, Nvidia is a biggie. So we'll see. I think Broadcom had did they have a good earnings? I think.
I think they
Um,
did. Let me see what BGO earnings.
yeah, but Nvidia is so subject to political, uh, and geopolitical wrangling that it kind of I would hope that they could provide some clarity as to what the impact of, like, if they're not allowed to sell to China anymore, or if they are, what happens. So Kohl's will be interesting. Their CEO just quit because he was having some affair with another CEO, and it turned it turned into a big COI thing.
Yeah. Well, I
That's just
guess
kind of funny.
there's money funneling from his budget into her budget, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think a couple of the other ones that stand out to me for this week, just to kind of see what they're doing. Obviously, Salesforce, CRM.
Uh-huh.
I'm always intrigued. I think from a retail standpoint, like Macy's on a downfall in general, but just in general, I want to see just kind of how consumer spending is going, and I would also add into that Costco. But then I would also, if you're looking at the AI game, Dell's going to be one to watch for as well, just with their data center servers and things of that nature.
Yeah. Also, Sentinel One is like one of my it's like one of my long-term sleeper picks as far as cybersecurity. It's a I don't know. I just have a particular interest in that stock. That we don't even have it. I
Mm.
don't think at Volland. It's just something that I think cybersecurity is going to be a growth market in kind of long term, especially with the geopolitical tensions are rising here. So cybersecurity is
Well,
probably going to be a big deal.
well, and a good one too. If you remember CrowdStrike, right? Like that thing went south of 250 last
Yeah,
year or the year before. Right now, I mean, it's well over 450 now. So, like, yeah,
yeah,
cybersecurity matters. It has not, you know, diminished in importance.
yeah.
All right, let's keep going here. So that was earnings. So the options makers are expecting the market or the SPX to move about 127 points today or this week. That's quite a bit for a shortened week, I would say, Wiz. So volatility is definitely going to, either be crushed or we're going to find some selling here potentially, because on the north side, their top of the range was 59.29, right? And we'll go
Mhm.
through some levels here, and there's a reason for that top of that range. But to the downside, we're looking at about 56.75 is what the expected move is.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
Go ahead.
like last week we saw a bunch of over vixing, like that both I think like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And Friday, normally on a holiday weekend, you see under vixing because the market's not supposed to move over the weekend. But I guess when Trump's president, because that's happened for the past 4 weeks, we have over vixed on a Friday, and that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's
Well, it
quite
doesn't. All
interesting.
right, let me put that away. that hasn't happened in a while. Like, so that's kind of so it's interesting to see 127 points of expected move, but
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going. So market breadth, just really quickly here. I mean, this is interesting. Last week, we actually got to 50% of stocks had gone above their 200-day moving average. The
Mhm.
bond market occurred, and now we're like below that number again. So that's just something I'm keeping an eye on for the health of the market. Like we're north of 50, we're just in a better place all in all, right?
Mhm.
So in some of the smaller time frames, like there's areas of call it being overbought. Over at one point we had 90% of stocks above their 20-day moving average. Almost 84% of stocks had their 50-day moving average recaptured, right? So there is a little bit of territory here of overboughtness to keep in mind here. Not to say we can't go, I'm not one to believe that you can't continue to be bought and overbought conditions, but just something to keep in mind here, and something, as we go through these key levels, especially this week, see how the market breadth is still moving along. Anything you
Mhm.
want to chime in there, was?
Not really. I mean, it's just kind of interesting to look at market breadth, but see if it's like an overall market thing or if this is, sector specific. But obviously, when Trump speaks, it's an overall market thing, so it's kind of difficult to, it's
Agreed.
good though to look for babies in the bathwater though. Like when people are just selling whatever they can, it's good to see like what sectors outperform and which ones don't.
Yep, 100%. 100%. All right, on the week here, let me just kind of go through it. I'm neutral at this point. I did this on Sunday before we hit above, or we maintained 5880 here. So we've captured first fit level. 5880s is important, but I still ultimately think that if we're going to continue to go higher, like a recapture of 5900 is critical on the week, right? This entire 5880, 5900 area is just full of sellers right now. You have certain gamma and vana scenarios that are also playing out here. More specifically, what I'm kind of seeing is, uh, I'm neutral as long as we stay below 5,900. I think we're just in Chopville is how I look at it. I don't think like a real breakdown is going to occur unless 5,800 is sold off. So to me, this like 100-point zone we're in right now, Wiz, like you got to play the extremes is how I look at it, unless you have
Mhm.
some sort of catalyst, let's say, that's going to break you out of the extremes, whether that be 5,900 or 5,800. Your
Yeah.
thoughts?
No, I agree with that. 5,900 is a large put strike, so it's something to keep an eye on. If we break out of 5,900, I mean, we could probably hit 6,000 in short order. So,
Yeah, that's kind of, I mean, you'll get some, 5905 here. You've got some positive Vanna, right? Will play a little bit of a factor, but yeah, like you're right. Above and beyond that, like there's not much until you get to 6,000.
mhm. Yeah.
If we even take a look at, just on the weekly, like the weekly, you're going to have to give it a little bit of time, right? But clearly here on the weekly, 5,900 was resistance,
That's
right?
yeah.
And I think what I find interesting here, Wiz, and I think I said something in the day trade channel overnight, we hit near or close to 5,900 overnight as we were about to break below 20 on the VIX, but the 20 on the VIX held. So I think there's a little bit of correlation there that I'm just going to call out with the VIX and 20. You stay south of that thing, I think this thing's going to finally break 5,900.
Yeah.
But you stay above 20, there's just a lot more chop and volatility, and that's where you got to play those extremes then.
Yeah. I agree. hmm
Okay, let me go back here on my notes, see if there's anything else we kind of want to. I mean, so again, from a trade setup, like you can short the 5,800 loss is how I look at it, or you can short and just keep an eye out for it. The data's got to kind of, agree with us here. You can short this rally if we see us break again below either 58.75 or 58.50. But again, this 25-point zone here is like buyer beware, either going long or short.
Yeah.
I would just be careful in this zone, but you can kind of see your downside targets. And if we go above 5,900, 5,925, and 5,950 is what you're ultimately kind of looking at least on the weekly view here for immediate targets.
Yeah, agreed. But I do think that that positive breakout is possible because like you said, VIX holding 20 was a big deal, but we've over VIXed quite a bit in the past couple of days. So I think that there could be a vol crush rally past 5,900. I would almost say that would be my my default is passing 5,900, getting to 5,950 or so, and then kind of sticking around that area, maybe for the next week or so.
Yep. All right, that's all I kind of had on my end. I know one of the questions here is about VIX and looking at Volland. Like, as I mentioned, I do look at the VIX and Volland. I will look at it just like I do any other ticker across multiple expirations, right? And again, for me, I just want to see the options flow, right? For me, they just give me like good support and resistance levels, just so I can kind of keep an eye out for it. But yeah, you can, our analysis, we provide you a little bit of a VIX, some of the Vanna flows that are occurring there with the VIX as well.
Yeah, I like to look at VIX. I mean, because VIX has a lot of mean reversion embedded into the calculations of its pricing. So it's very difficult to look at VIX the same way you look at like SPX because the Vanna will be a lot higher. I mean, VIX being a European option, you look at sometimes you could buy a put with intrinsic value that's less than, like if I were to buy this put and exercise it immediately, I would make money. You can't do that. Obviously it's a European option, but that's how like the mean reversion works in those VIX options. So primarily when I look at VIX and Volland, I look at the delta just to see how people are positioned, where are the vol sellers coming, where are the hedgers going, how to look at that positioning. But I don't try to, VIX and Volland, I don't, like hedgers, I don't really take that much strong. There's probably something special in there that I would have to look at. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, again, for me, just the key levels. I'm not looking to find trend here. I just want to know, is 20 VIX more important than an 18 VIX, right? You can kind of just see that a little bit with positioning. So that's typically how, like here we get to an 18, like now I'm going to be a little bit careful with longs, right? Until I can be proven one way or the other. So, but that's just how I kind of use it for, I think GeoCap had that question there.
Yeah. GeoCap also talked about monitoring over VIXing and under VIXing. We do it on a daily basis. We don't do it on and it's right there in the spot vol correlation widget. You could see right there where it says current ratio. That gives you how much you're over VIXed. When it's negative like that, negative 0.36, you're under VIXed. You're over under VIXed. Yeah. So, but typically what I do is I look at the slope, negative 0.65, and I just multiply that times whatever SPX percent returns are at that moment, and that's your answer. Are you over VIXed or under VIXed, right? So that's typically what I do. The current ratio is probably busted right now because of Monday, but we'll see. See how that works. So
yeah, give it I mean, I think going into this week, just if you're flat in positions, I had some puts. I thought we were going to sell here a little bit and fill that ES gap and then rally out of it. That's what I was hoping for. Unfortunately, I got trumped, right? So with the statement on Sunday. So my short dated puts there. I had to take a loss on those and killed them off. I did get
Yeah.
into some calls overnight and did a couple of trades there, Wiz. So thank you again for the Volland levels. They're extremely helpful overnight for me. Make up some of those losses, but I would keep an eye on it. Like, I don't think if we don't get above 5,900, while I might have been early with my puts, I think that some of those will come back to pay for this week. I don't expect us to have easy action just going up or down in a specific way. I expect a little bit more volatility until at least the Nvidia earnings and at least the market open here. Let the data catch up. We're up how much percent? About a 1.3%. I mean, so we're up quite a bit in futures actions. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know we were threatening 5,900 there for a while, so that's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, we try to test it. Now we're below 58.80. We're at roughly about 58.75 right now in pre-market action. So it's an important zone to watch out for.
Yeah. All right. I guess, do we have any other questions? I mean, we can end a little early today, or we can do like a quick NVIDIA. What would you like to do?
I mean, if you don't mind, I'll just pull up NVIDIA. I'm sure
let's pull up NVIDIA. I mean, I don't have the ORATs in front of me, but let's do a quick NVIDIA outlook.
Yep. Give me 1 second here. Update my time frames. I got to SPX. Luckily, Captain Wick in our Discord does QQQ for us, so that keeps me whole there, right? But I did not get to individual tickers. It means I had a good Memorial Day weekend.
I thought you would just go to your earnings tab, right?
I haven't updated that since I didn't, because Andrew did all the earnings this past cycle, right? So I'm just not really updated on my random tickers. But let me pull up Vanna for you. Go ahead.
All right, this is all expirations. That looks like a lot of sold calls up ahead.
Yeah.
What's the current price in NVIDIA?
So NVIDIA in pre-market's at about $134.55.
Wow.
That's right here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sold calls, and there is no put support below. I think this is one of those. It's probably going to be a modest upside, unless of course something happens. Then I think there's no support underneath. I think this is kind of a scary. What is that big? I can hardly see the.
So the big positive van is 150 here.
150.
Your second one is 140, and then to the downside 110 here.
No, 110. What is that? People selling puts? That looks like people selling puts.
It is. Yeah. I'll let me just clear this out.
So overall, probably the right thing to do is maybe like a butterfly around like 140, but buy an extra put out of the money just in case. That'd be my suggestion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Selling puts, like you said.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, but that's probably what I would do is I would maybe do like a butterfly around 140, maybe about 10 wide. And but again, too, you have to look for whatever is going to happen today or tomorrow, right? So you don't want to do it today. You got to see on Wednesday, see maybe like that 140, 150 range, that area, and then whatever puts underneath, like make sure you're hedged for a NVIDIA surprise kind of thing. So,
yeah, I mean, it's funny. 150s, that's like, its all-time high is 153 and change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the largest, Vanna gets you right back up to there. So, again, me personally, I'm going to be watching it, enjoying it, and then I'll trade either NVIDIA or the ES afterwards.
Yeah, that's probably the best bet. But I think though that if NVIDIA comes back somewhat positive and you end up in that 145, 150 area, you're not going to move much. So it's kind of, at that point in time, though, I would be going long-term bearish. I mean, there's so many competitors that are just beginning to pop up from Broadcom and, from China. And, I think that in the long term, NVIDIA is not going to have the monopoly that it enjoys, currently. So
Agreed.
But that's just
So being
fundamental, that's,
yeah.
don't take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, that's not a weekly call either.
Yeah, no, that's like years. But anyway. All right. I mean, that's what I got today. If you don't have anything else, Jay, we can end here at 9:00.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, give today, especially the opening, if you're flat, especially if you're trading intraday, like let this digest itself a little bit, especially the data. We've moved quite a bit, as I said, about north of a percentage here in ES and futures action. And let me, I'm just kind of curious what durable, what time is that news release? Is that at 8:30 or was it at 10?
There's a news release?
Yeah, I was just curious about durable goods orders. So it was actually pretty positive. It was up.
Oh.
So which I mean, well, like month over month, we're up like 0.2%, right? But like
Right.
the actual, like we were expecting negative 7.6%. We got negative 6.3%. So it just wasn't as bad.
So it wasn't a positive report. It was just better than we expected.
Yeah, less negative.
Right.
We'll
There you
leave it
go.
at that. So again, keep it well at the data. Don't rush into any trades.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for us today. And wait. We have one more question that came up.
Oh,
To boy Yuli Geo. I thought Geo Cap would have been him. Can you go into what undermining and overvixing, I guess it means undervixing and overvixing, does to the market, and what can one expect? So when a market is overvixed, that means that the prior day VIX has moved more than the percent return that SPX implies, right? It has a very strong correlation between VIX and SPX. And, if VIX moves too much, then that is overvixing technically. Usually what that means is over the next couple of days, overvixing happens because of a little bit of lack of liquidity in the market, or customers buy a ton of puts. Those are the two kind of main ways overvixing happens. There's also like some other little ones, like people are buying VX futures, or there's Volex, volatility expiration, or something like that. That happens sometimes. The Monday effect is another thing. Typically going into a weekend, VIX is lower because the weekend is a time frame that the market doesn't trade. And then it recovers that lowerness when the market reopens, which is supposed to be today, but it doesn't seem like that's happening recently because of how Trump tweets, and there's fundamental issues all the time. But typically that kind of returns to normal. It mean reverts. And when that mean reverts, you kind of get a vol crush to the upside. The greater your aggregate Vanna, the more that vol crush is. So that's kind of what we're seeing now. We're seeing slight overvixing. I mean, when you overvix more than 2 points, typically you recover to yesterday's close within 3 weeks. In our history, we have had 26, instances of that happening. 24, it has recovered within 3 weeks. So really, like, overvixing kind of creates a future snapback to mean reversion in SPX. Undervixing kind of foretells that there will be a pop soon, right? So it leaves the door open a little bit on the downside, but it usually, most often, it kind of it's almost a time of we're about to pop a little bit in SPX, but VIX won't move much. So I kind of liken it to a cartoon getting ready to run, right? You get like spinning his feet for like, a good 2-3 seconds, and then, and then he goes. So under VIXing is usually great for like a short-term trade. Over VIXing, you kind of have to just be careful all the way down. And then once you start seeing that bottom area, then you're like, okay, I can start looking toward a pop. So that's really what under VIXing and over VIXing is. That's how to trade it. And yeah, so hopefully that answers your question, Yuli. So yeah. And now it's actually 9 o'clock. So no problem, Yuli. All right, everybody. And have a great week. And may Volland help you in your future trading ventures.